relationship between science and religion has been a topic of debate for centuries, with scientists and Christians often finding themselves at odds. While it may seem that scientists are actively attempting to convince Christians that God is not real, the reality is more complex. The primary goal of scientists is not to disprove the existence of God, but rather to understand the natural world through empirical evidence and observation. However, the methods and findings of science can sometimes be at odds with religious doctrine, leading to perceived conflicts between the two. One reason scientists may be perceived as trying to convince Christians that God is not real is the concept of methodological naturalism. This approach, which underlies the scientific method, assumes that natural phenomena can be explained by natural causes and laws, without reference to supernatural or divine intervention. This does not necessarily mean that scientists are attempting to disprove the existence of God, but rather that they are seeking to understand the world in a way that is consistent with observable evidence. By excluding supernatural explanations, scientists are able to develop and test hypotheses that can be verified or falsified through experimentation and observation. Another factor contributing to the perceived conflict between science and Christianity is the way in which scientific discoveries can challenge traditional religious beliefs. For example, the theory of evolution, which is widely accepted by the scientific community, can be seen as conflicting with the biblical account of creation. Similarly, the Big Bang theory, which suggests that the universe began as a single point and expanded rapidly around 13.8 billion years ago, can be seen as challenging the idea of a divine creator. However, it is essential to note that many scientists who subscribe to these theories also identify as Christians, and that science and faith are not necessarily mutually exclusive. Some scientists, such as Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris, have been vocal about their criticisms of Christianity and their perception that science and faith are incompatible. These individuals often argue that the existence of God is not supported by empirical evidence and that religious beliefs can be detrimental to society. However, their views are not representative of the scientific community as a whole, and many scientists are more nuanced in their approach to the relationship between science and faith. In fact, a 2019 survey found that 51% of scientists in the United States identify as Christian, demonstrating that science and faith are not necessarily in conflict. In reality, many scientists are not attempting to convince Christians that God is not real, but rather seeking to understand the natural world and to develop a deeper appreciation for the complexity and beauty of the universe. Science is a method of inquiry that seeks to answer questions about the world through observation, experimentation, and evidence-based reasoning. While the findings of science may sometimes challenge traditional religious beliefs, they also have the potential to deepen our understanding of the world and to inspire a sense of awe and wonder at the complexity and beauty of creation. In conclusion, the perception that scientists are trying to convince Christians that God is not real is a simplification of a complex and multifaceted issue. While the methods and findings of science may sometimes be at odds with religious doctrine, the primary goal of scientists is to understand the natural world through empirical evidence and observation. By recognizing the limitations and potential applications of science, as well as the diversity of perspectives within the scientific community, we can work towards a more nuanced understanding of the relationship between science and faith, and a greater appreciation for the complexity and beauty of the world around us. Ultimately, science and faith are not necessarily in conflict, and can coexist as complementary ways of understanding the world and our place within it.